All right, hello and welcome everyone to another Why Would You Use? And this video is coming out on the day it's planned to come out. Happy Thanksgiving. We are going to be doing a bunch of videos in a row here. So today we are doing a Why Would You Use on the Proboscis Cernos. The Proboscis Cernos is one of the new weapons in Deimos Arcana, and it is yet another Cernos, but it has a completely different fire rate. So the only Cernos thing about it is that it looks kinda like a Cernos, but more mutalisty than the mutalist Cernos. And it has a brand new fire type. So let's go over this real quick. First and foremost, this thing's crit might as well be non-existent. So we use this weapon doesn't have any crit build, or what that would usually be. So in this case, basically you're taking your crit mods and replacing them with heavy caliber and vile acceleration, and otherwise we're having a little bit of status, but mostly a lot of raw damage on here so we can kill higher level stuff. Also, worth noting, because you could only carry around 9 shots on this thing, and you're probably going to want to carry, you probably want to keep firing. We have Vigilante Supplies in the X-List slot, as this is like basically the best thing to put in the X-List slot of all primary weapons. And yeah, that's pretty much the whole thing. The reason Vile Acceleration is in here, because A, fire rate equals damage, and if you're using Vigilante Supplies, then fire rate becomes much less of an issue, I'll say. But also, you must pull this bow all the way back before you fire it, so this is just going to make it much easier to use and more versatile, as well as increasing the damage. So yeah, pretty simple build. It is very expensive at 5 Forma, but I like this weapon well enough. I think it's pretty good. And the reason I think it's pretty good is because whenever you fire it, you get these tendril spots wherever any of the arrows impact, including if it hits an enemy, and those tendril spots will pull in enemies and then explode. And the very, very notable thing about this weapon, and the reason why it's kind of usable at all, is because those tendrils will go through walls, they tick damage, and the explosion will go through walls. With that makes this weapon actually quite nice on really congested tile sets, where there's just tons and tons of things in your way, and just things all over the place, or in areas where there are just tons and tons of enemies that are very weak, because just the tendrils touching, like enemies like level, let's say 50 and below, will usually just outright kill them. And this works up into, like, the very low hundreds or so. So it's going to work in most forms of content. Though I will say, once you get past about where this test is going to be at level 80, the heavies do become a problem that you're going to have to solve with either your Warframe powers, or by damage boosting this with like a Rhino or something, or by just simply using a secondary or melee weapon, which of course the secondary and melee slots are containing the much better weapons in Warframe right now in general. So you're very likely to be wanting to carry around one of those two things. With that, though, we are doing a level 80 test. It is the usual dudes, and this is going to be pretty simple because there's not much aiming required with this weapon. It kind of just does it. It tendrils them in, it kills them, it solves a problem. It grouping enemies up is really nice, and my first instinct upon hearing that it grouped enemies up was to build it low damage, and then do some cheeky things with like Rhino and his build, but I actually think that there are just better ways to do that, so I would avoid that, because there's literally just better ways to do that exact same thing. As you can see on these heavies, it's doing like reasonably well. Actually impacting the heavies usually does a pretty good job, especially headshots, of getting rid of them, but for regular dudes, they kind of just die whenever you shoot near them, which is very useful. This thing does ESO very, very well. It has no real trouble in any star chart missions. I probably wouldn't bring it to Steel Path, but, there's not a huge list of reasons to do Steel Path other than, like, a couple rewards, maybe the new weeklies that you might be doing, and you can just bring other weapons and frames for that. This, in general, content doing, I enjoy it. It's pretty good. Not too crazy. It is a primary weapon, like I've been saying, but I enjoy it a lot. It's a good time. So yeah, that is the Proboscis Cernos. I will see you guys tomorrow for yet another one of these new fancy weapons from Deimos Arcana. And goodbye, everybody.